Charlotte is portrayed by Rose Williams as being more subdued than ever. She is obviously struggling because of all of her regrets. On the other side, Ben Lloyd Hughes portrays Colborne with a little bit more assurance. If their brief romance from Season 2 revived Colborne, it appears to have left Charlotte as a pale replica of her former self. That's not to say Charlotte has wilted entirely. In fact, Williams and Lloyd Hughes have such a connection that even a fleeting gaze can elicit a wide range of feelings. Of course, Season 3 of Sanditon is filled with much more than just the tense relationship between Charlotte and Colborne. According to her parents' wishes, Charlotte will wed Ralph, and she won't defy them by running away like Augusta did with her uncle. Charlotte promises to get back to Ralph after helping Alexander look for his niece, even if Ralph doesn't want her to. Leo acknowledges to the Colborne brothers that she facilitated an encounter between Edward and Augusta during which Augusta brought up Falmouth. In a carriage, Charlotte and Alexander began the arduous journey to the coastal town. Charlotte explains a lot of things as she goes along. The debate is nominally about Augusta, but it's also obvious that it's highly influenced by Charlotte's emotions. She tells Alexander that young ladies have no say in how their lives are lived and are at the mercy of their fathers and uncles. Instead of deciding for Augusta, Alexander might listen to her and help her to make the best choice. She advised Augusta to follow her heart, even if she didn't know where it was leading, so that she wouldn't find herself trapped in an unhappy marriage and cut off from her real love. Everyone is aware that Georgiana is well prepared to join a loveless union. She is urged by Arthur to change her mind. Shouldn't marriage be based on happiness? She is drawn to the ease of the marriage while being aware of Arthur and Harry's affection for one another. While having tea with Georgiana, Lady Montrose describes the size of the family estate she will be inheriting and tells her that she will reside on the estate and provide guidance. Harry and Georgiana could virtually live separate lives in the mansion due to its size. Georgiana is interrupted by Mary as she enters the tea room to introduce Georgiana to her mother. But Lady Montrose and Georgiana don't think Agnes Harmon really her mother. They think she's probably just another riches digger. Georgiana is convinced to communicate with Agnes by Mary. Agnes was freed by her master when she was transported to England 5 years ago, but she is unable to go back to Antigua because she would remain a slave there. Georgiana had been looked for, but she assumed she had returned to Antigua. She works for a charity that helps people who were once slaves, and Otis discovered her through them. She only wants to get to know Georgiana. When she discovered where her daughter was, she arrived as soon as she could. After selling a pregnant Agnes and taking an English wife, Georgiana's father separated her from her daughter. Agnes's new boss forbade her from keeping the child. In Antigua, Agnes left Georgiana a necklace in the hopes that she would someday find it. It did, and now her mother has as well. Raleigh Price, who abandoned Lady Denham at the altar decades earlier, has somehow managed to return to her. Now that they have time on their hands, they are getting married soon, next week in fact. However, Lady Denham was unaware that Price intended her to leave Sanditon and her estate behind in order to live with him. She is unsure of her opinion of that. Mary's hubby is not making her happy. She now knows that Mrs. Filkins, her former maid, has been served with an eviction notice. Mary pleaded with Tom to act morally, but he sold the old town's land to construct Price's new hotel. She says that he's not the same Tom she married after he defends himself by saying that he's doing it for Mary and their children. No matter what Augusta has done outside of marriage, Charlotte assures Alexander she will not be destroyed since she is still the same girl. She finds out that 2 persons who like Edward and Augusta took rooms at an inn from a baker's lad who serves the inns in Falmouth. Alexander has been informed in writing by Edward that he and Augusta must travel to Scotland because Alexander has forbade their marriage. He refuses to get into bed with Augusta. Edward was on the couch and Augusta was in bed when Alexander and Charlotte walked in. Augusta is old enough to make her own decisions, so Alexander assures her that he won't stand in the way of their union as long as they return to Sanditon for a traditional wedding. She only needs to be certain that this is what she wants because she is an extraordinary woman. Hearing this speech makes Edward's face flinch. He resolves to act as though he has been using Augusta for nothing more than access to her wealth. As a result, he steadily reverts to his previous harsh nature, turning on Augusta in an effort to force her to reject him. He's irredeemable, he says to Lady Denham when he gets back to Sanditon, and Augusta deserves more than him. He denies feeling anything for the girl, though. Devastated is Augusta. She is escorted back to Sanditon by Charlotte and Alexander as they provide any consolation they can. Alexander thanks Charlotte as he drops her off at the Parker residence. She instructs him to take Augusta home after they hold hands for a lengthy period of silence. Worried about Augusta, Samuel and Lady Susan have been to the Colborne estate. She explains that she was married under identical circumstances to Augustus, as they have a candlelit pantry dinner in the kitchen. Her late husband wasn't wealthy or compassionate. Samuel asks her to stay and gives her a kiss as she stands to go. She gives it back. The supper is significantly more heated and packed in the Parker home. To celebrate Georgiana's engagement and her recent reconciliation with her mother, the Parkers are holding a supper. But because Tom is running late, Arthur will serve as host. Agnes, who is single, independent, and of low position, is despised by Lady Montrose. However, Agnes hopes to spend as much time as she can with Georgiana. In order for Arthur to spend time with Harry, Georgiana offers to let him live on the expansive Montrose estate. But later, Arthur informs Harry that he would rather live alone than pretend to be married to Georgiana and Harry in order to conceal his true identity. Agnes notices the odd relationships in the room and inquires as to whether Georgiana and Harry are in love. They claim to. Mary then passes out from the same fever that is roiling the old town. At this point, Charlotte returns to Sanditon. Before she enters the Parker residence, Ralph catches her. He had been uncomfortably waiting for her. Charlotte rushes to Mary's bedside as they both arrive. Lydia resentfully explains how her mother saved her from an unpropitious marriage, as Lady Montrose questioned the appropriateness of Charlotte riding in a carriage with Alexander at such a late hour. Finally, Tom shows there, jubilant that he has gotten every investment for the hotel. He finds out about Mary, though, and rushes to her. He confesses his atrocious behavior to a Mary who is not responding. She is the most essential thing to him, yet she might not make it through the night. When the Montroses finally depart, Lady Montrose offers to take Agnes home with her. Lady Montrose tells Georgiana's mother that the title Georgiana will get when she marries Harry will put her and her family under fresh scrutiny. Agnes wouldn't want her presence to tarnish Georgiana's or the Montrose family's reputation. When it comes to assisting Agnes in leaving Georgiana behind, Lady Montrose is exceedingly kind. Ralph, the lone remaining guest, brings up Lydia's statement of losing her ideal mate when Charlotte approaches him. "I never was the man you selected, did I?" he inquires Charlotte. She acknowledges that she cannot marry Ralph since she is in love with Alexander. Ralph still loves her, which makes it even tougher, but he will let her to make the necessary decisions.